make that happen sometime. Besides, but like, no, put it on fire. Whenever we can make it work. Okay. That's great. I know how it is. I'm living it right now. Thank you.
Welcome to the 2016 Great Social Enterprise Pitch. We are excited you're here. I'm Melody Kyman. I'm the VP of Programs and Initiatives at the Lancaster County Community Foundation.
And I'm Jessica King. I'm an Executive Director of Assets. We're thrilled that you're here tonight to join us for the third annual pitch. For those of you that are new to Assets, we're a community benefit organization that creates economic opportunity and cultivates entrepreneurial leadership to alleviate poverty and build vibrant, sustainable communities. For over 20 years, Assets has been committed to transforming our communities through business. But in the past few years, we've changed a lot, centered around the belief that business can be a tremendous force for good, especially around creating good jobs for those that need them most. We do this through business training and counseling, providing credit-building microloans, helping traditional businesses measure and improve their social and environmental impact, and financing companies that are committed to hiring individuals with barriers to employment and paying them thriving wages.
The Lancaster County Community Foundation works to advance the vitality and the well-being of the people of Lancaster by inspiring generosity and being responsible stewards of gifts for today and tomorrow. You may know us through a small event, very small, called the Extraordinary Give, which last year raised $6.1 million. And I would be remiss if I did not mention that that is just around the corner, coming this year on November 18th. But the Extraordinary Give is only one of the many things that we do at the Lancaster County Community Foundation. As part of the Community Foundation's, having trouble with my buttons here, there we go. As part of the Community Foundation's AHA project, we started a AHA Conversation series back in 2011. And on 11/11/11, here on this very stage, Dan Pallotta, a TED Talk speaker and author, joined us for that first conversation. The second one, The Power of Failure, happened, and then in 2013, hashtag Local Good, which focused on social impact for businesses. As Jess said, this is our third year with the Great Social Enterprise Pitch, and it is really through those conversations and through our partnership with Assets, the pitch was born. I know that there are past participants in the audience. I saw a few as we came in, and I'm just wondering if you would mind standing up so we can recognize you. So from the first year and the second year. So the goal of the pitch is to create awareness of social enterprise and to also help us as a community see it as a vital and a viable business model. It's, of course, also to help support local social entrepreneurs in the work that they're doing and the ideas that they have.
Melody and I both know, as many of you do, that nonprofit or community benefit organizations have limited resources and tools at hand to employ in our work for change. We face an ongoing battle to be financially sustainable. The market, however, the private sector, faces far fewer limitations and has sort of a built-in sustainability factor. If it doesn't generate revenue from customers, it ceases to exist. The private sector is far larger than the nonprofit sector as well. Last year, for example, we, as the United States and the community, gave about the same amount to charity as we spent going out. So what would it mean if more of the restaurants that we patronize sourced our food in responsible ways, or paid our workers in ways that they could survive and thrive as members of our society? So if you're not a business owner pursuing social enterprise, you also can be part of this whole bit of building an equitable economy. You can see the building blocks of an equitable economy around that work for more people, like the 30% Lancaster City that lives below the poverty line. This also disproportionately affects women and people of color. The building blocks of an equitable economy include more than businesses. They depend on all of us who buy things. That's everybody in the room, right? Customers that intentionally buy from businesses that are seeking to make a difference. They include investors that are interested in more than just a financial, but a social return on investment, social impact of where their dollars flow. And they include employees and team members of these enterprises, some of whom have barriers to employment for whom one good job means the world.
The Great Social Enterprise Pitch is a business incubator and a very friendly competition for social enterprise. But as this year's participants say, this is not Shark Tank. This is dolphins. And so we wanted to create something that provided support for all of the ideas all along the way. In March and April, we held an information meeting, followed by 2 spark sessions, or pitch and brew, where entrepreneurs could come, pitch their idea, and then the group gave them some feedback. In April, we received 33 ideas, and 10 ideas were selected to join the incubator session. Over the next 6 months, these 10 ideas and the visionary people behind them have met almost every Tuesday night from 6 to 9. I'd like to invite the visionary people behind this year's 10 ideas to stand so we can recognize them. During the incubator sessions, we dug into their social impact, tested their business model, spent several very long sessions building the financial structure, developed market strategies, and all along the way, they pitched their ideas over and over and over and over again. I think that everyone who has participated in any of our pitches will tell you that it is a lot of work. From the end of August and into September, 9 of the ideas launched their crowdfunding pages on Indiegogo. The group this year raised an amazing $60,000. Yeah, definitely. With over 900 donors contributing. Of that group, 5 were selected to be here tonight to publicly pitch their social enterprise idea to all of you.
And here we are. Starting in just a minute, you'll hear 5 ideas presented in 5-minute increments to 5 judges. The judges will rank the ideas based on the potential for impact and scale around a specific problem, their business model, their vision and leadership, the quality of their pitches, and their ability to create thriving wage jobs for individuals with barriers to employment. While the judges deliberate, you'll have an opportunity to cast your vote with an audience vote. Write your vote on the card that came in your program, and you had a pen too. And we'll also pass the hat then to collect your votes. And you're welcome to put a few dollars in with your note, or if you want to write a check, you can write that out to assets, and we'll make sure it gets to you. Put in the memo line who you're writing it to, and we'll make sure that it gets to them. And the money will be presented to the audience's top choice to support their enterprise.
Then we get to hear from our honored guest, Matt Stinchcomb, who joins us tonight from Brooklyn, New York. But before we get to the pitches, we'd like to introduce our judges. And I think they have a really hard job tonight. First, Carlos Garpella. Can you raise your hand, Carlos? From SACA, Spanish American Civic Association. Jenny Groff, there on the end, co-founder and co-owner of the Stroopy Company and also last year's winner. Bob Krasny, publisher of L&P. Walanda McLeod, executive director of Brightside Opportunity Center. And Crystal Weaver, founder and co-owner of Prince Street Cafe and Passenger Coffee. Thank you all for your willingness to make decisions tonight that I think are going to be really tough. And with that, let's pitch, Dolphins.
Everyone. My name is Louis Miranda, and I am the founder of Boot Camp 900, located in the southeast side of Lancaster City. Growing up, I was physically, mentally, verbally abused by my stepfather, who thought doing so would make me into a strong man. My mother, a woman of strong faith, couldn't take it any longer, so she made a decision that changed my life forever. We then moved to the southeast side of Lancaster City to the Hill Rise projects, As we transitioned into a new home, my mother found herself working longer hours, and in the process, I started to lack attention. So the streets became attractive, and they became very welcoming to me. I started doing things that I wasn't supposed to be doing, eventually finding myself in front of a judge who said that I was a career criminal and that I should be locked away for the rest of my life. Verdict was said. I stand in front of each and every one of you tonight, a changed man, because of health and fitness. Fitness became my saving grace. Fitness took me out of a negative environment and served as an avenue of hope for me. And that is exactly what I want to continue to give the southeast side of Lancaster City, hope. But here's some problems that surround us at the moment. 43% of the southeast side of Lancaster City live in poverty. 17% of them are unemployed, highest amongst blacks and Latinos, and I find that highly unacceptable. Unfortunately, poverty leads directly to unhealthy choices and so much more. Here are 4 major health issues that if you do not take care of your body, they will result in death: diabetes, heart disease, stroke, and obesity. It is estimated that communities with the poverty rates above 35% experience obesity at 145% or higher. Remember, in the southeast side, poverty rates at 43%. My solution? Boot Camp 900. Boot Camp 900 is a 60-minute bodyweight training program that focuses on muscle confusion. We help build self-esteem, and we encourage every single student by creating an environment of hard work and dedication. How does it work? Accountability. I'm a personal trainer that holds every single student that walks through my doors accountable. I expect them to give me 100% because I always give them 200%. We also give group classes, and in these group classes, we work together, we suffer together, and we reach fitness goals together. It's a team effort at Boot Camp 900. We're also a catalyst for change. Healthy choices lead to healthier lifestyles. Starting at the gym, going home, carrying it to your work, and showing it to your family. Boot Camp 900 works. We want to continue to improve the overall health of the Southeast residents. Here we have Luz Rivera. Didn't believe in classes. Came in unmotivated, discouraged. I just told her, trust in your journey, and you're going to see. Here she is, 145 pounds later. Here we have Ernesto Acosta, another non-believer of classes. Came in weighing 300 pounds, has lost 45 pounds, runs 2 miles in 30 minutes. Now tell me if that's not amazing. What are we doing now? We currently hold three classes per week in a borrowed space at an affordable cost of $5. Students are free, and we have capped the classes at 20 participants per session. What's next for Boot Camp 900? We need a sole location, somewhere where I can give more classes. I would also like to add a membership option of $60 a month for unlimited classes. We currently have 60 active members that pay ahead for classes right now. I stand confident here today that that will work. Our projected income for 2017 for the first year is as follows. Membership and individual fees are at $72,000. Our startup cost is at $9,000. We just recently had a crowdfunding campaign where you guys helped us reach $6,000. All we need is $3,000 to take Boot Camp 900 to the next level. That'll get us every single piece of equipment that we need to help the Southeast residents. Boot Camp 900 has some big dreams that I know for a fact we're going to accomplish them. A new space plus more classes equals Boot Camp 900 offering job opportunities. And when I say job opportunities, I say offering job opportunities to individuals with barriers to employment. Here's our triple impact. 1, continue to provide health and fitness resources for the Southeast Side residents. 2, sponsor formerly incarcerated individuals by getting them personal trainer certified and then hiring them. At the age of 17, I was incarcerated. I know what it is to struggle and try to find end meet and know and not be able to get a job because of what I did 13 years ago. To this day, I still suffer because of that. So what I want to do for those individuals is give them a second chance, just as fitness did for me. I also want to continue to give free membership to the youth. If you live in the southeast side of Lancaster City and you are under the age of 18, you are free at Boot Camp 900. My passion lies with them, that perhaps with the youth that perhaps find themselves in the same position where I found myself at the age of 17. They need guidance and they need that right mentorship. And I know Boot Camp 900 can provide that. Born, raised, and educated in the southeast side of Lancaster City. So I have a sense of responsibility to make it a thriving region. With your help, we could take Boot Camp 900 to the next level. Help me build a strong and healthy community. We can do it together. My name is Louis Miranda, and I am the founder of Boot Camp 900.
When I was little, I remember sitting at my grandmother's table, learning how to draw stick figures and insisting on drawing clothes on all of them. When I was in 3rd grade, I drew my first floor plan for a store with my 2 best friends. My name is Kristen Snyder, and today I am the very proud owner of Sophie Stargazer Boutique. Born and raised in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, I'm a graduate of McCaskey, class of '01. I moved to Philadelphia where I earned degrees in fashion design and fashion marketing. And in 2005, I began a career as a freelance costume designer and wardrobe stylist. But I always knew that what I truly wanted to do was to own my own store. So in the summer of 2013, with the help of family and friends, I opened Sophie Stargazer Boutique on the 100 block of East King Street. When I first opened, I focused exclusively on designer brands, but then something else happened. I began carrying a brand called Imagine Goods, a Lancaster-based company that works with women in Cambodia who are survivors of sex trafficking. They make beautiful accessories and home decor. Soon after, I brought in a brand called the Root Collective, handmade shoes from the slum areas of La Limonada in Guatemala. Each of these pieces are beautiful and they're making a real difference in people's lives. Speaking with the women behind the brands led me to delve deeper into the fashion industry and to learn about the brands, to think more about how the brands that I chose to carry were being made. It led me to 2 major issues. First, the fashion industry that I love is the 2nd largest polluter in the world. It's second only to big oil. And that picture that you see, those beautiful colors, that's not the reflection of a sunset. That is runoff from fabric manufacturing facility. And secondly, the fashion industry is also responsible for extremely unsafe working conditions for millions of men and women. In 2013, the same year that I opened my store, the Renault Plaza, an 8-floor clothing manufacturing facility in Bangladesh, collapsed, killing 1,100 workers, injuring twice as many, and leaving 800 children orphaned. These men and women that worked here earned less than $2 a day, and they risked their lives to make the clothing that you and I buy. Most readily available clothing that we buy today in all of our stores are made in facilities just like this. But there is a better way. While many companies still use overseas facilities to dye their fabrics that are both harmful to the workers and the environments, there are other companies like Gypsy 05, a completely solar-powered dye house in the US that's making real changes in the industry. It takes a lot of research to find these brands, and when you do, they're often only available online, where you can't try them on or touch them to decide if you want to buy them. With this in mind, we're ready for some real changes at Sophie Stargazer. Our goal is to provide our customers with a very unique blend of brands that are either USA made, eco-friendly, ethically made, or by our local artists, so that our customers can feel good about every purchase they make when they walk inside our doors. And because we cannot inspire real change until people are actually aware there's an issue, we plan to spread awareness through marketing and events featuring our local and worldwide artisans, the real people behind the brands. So how are we going to do this? First of all, we are moving. I'll be closing our current location in February and reopening in a beautiful new space in the spring just 4 blocks away, closer to the action of downtown Lancaster. With this exciting location, and I expect increased foot traffic, and the ability to work with neighboring shops and businesses who already do group marketing and events. Better yet, Sophie Stargazer is projected to become profitable within our first year of the move. Our relocation is the perfect time for Sophie Stargazer to grow with our social mission. I plan on switching more of our Lancaster local artists to wholesale terms so that they can focus on growing their own businesses within our community and to increase our eco-friendly and ethically made inventory by the time of our relaunch. With the increased growth of Sophie Stargazer from our new location, I'll be able to collaborate with local nonprofits and community organizations and begin a paid internship program with our local colleges to train the next generation of entrepreneurs and hopefully inspire them to think socially about their businesses in the future. Of course, to do this, I need your help. I just completed a crowdfunding campaign exceeding our goal and raising over $7,000 in just 21 days. But even with this, we still need an additional $8,000 and a line of credit to meet our goals and to put Sophie Stargazer in the best possible position for success moving forward. Thank you so much for listening and for being a part of the change. Sophie Stargazer Boutique is about empowering you to think both locally and globally about your purchases and to make a positive impact on the world around you. My name is Kristen Snyder, and I look forward to seeing you at Sophie Stargazer Boutique.
By definition, melanin means pigments that gives hair, skin, and eyes their color.
Hi, I'm Saba Williams,
And I'm Olayinka Cradle.
and we're the co-founders of Melanin Essentials. At the ages of 12,
And 15.
we got our first chemical relaxers to alter our natural hair. After 4+ years of hair thinning, breakage, and loss, we knew we needed a change. However, when we went to our local beauty supply stores, we came home empty-handed and realized 2 problems. 1, we didn't have access to products that work for our hair, and 2, the products we did find had harmful ingredients that were hazardous to our bodies as well as the environment.
Summer 2012, we began making natural hair products from scratch in our own home. And since then, we've realized the benefits of chemical-free ingredients. So we stand here today with backgrounds in public policy, sociology,
Chemistry and biology,
with a motivation to spread awareness and access to healthy products for women of color who are just like us, struggling to find products that work.
we seek to address 3 problems. 1, lack of access to products tailored to women of color.
2, lack of access to resources and thriving wages for single mothers.
And 3, the hazardous effects of chemical ingredients and plastic waste on our health and environment.
Our solution? Chemical-free, eco-friendly products specifically tailored to women of color.
So how it works is we are going to hire and pay single mothers thriving wages starting at $15 an hour because 60.1% of single mothers in Lancaster City live in extreme poverty. And that's higher than the national average of 39%. Also, 73% of all births in Lancaster are to unwed mothers.
Step 2 is to then produce our product tailored to women of color.
2 demographics within our target market are leading the industry, Blacks and Hispanics. The Black consumer has a buying power of 1.1. Over half of that figure is driven by women. They're also 9 times more likely to buy ethnic beauty products. Hispanic spending makes up a total of 16% of U.S. sales within the beauty industry. Last year alone, they increased their sales by 44% due to the growing population in the U.S. In reference to all minorities, it is projected that by 2050, minorities will make up a total of 43% of the beauty care industry.
Our last step is to produce products using raw, all natural, and organic, and then package them in recyclable and or biodegradable material. We are launching our starter products in the fall of 2016. There will be a body butter, hair cream, deodorant, and hair sealing. These products will also be available for purchase on our e-commerce website at www.melaninessentials.com.
Our startup costs are $15K, and this amount will enable us to purchase equipment so that we can scale at a faster rate. So far, we've raised $8,000 from crowdfunding and only need $7,000 to meet our goal. This here is a chart of our margins, including our cost of goods, competitive price points, and our profit margins for each of our products. These numbers you see here will give us a gross profit margin of 62%, which is a great starting point to invest in product testing and sampling.
Looking at our timeline, we are currently in the last stages of product development and are 2 months away from launching our online shop. Within our first year, we will complete our hairline, start our Melanin Essentials workshop, and launch wholesale. Right now, we are speaking with 2 shops and 2 salons that want our products. These are small yet essential steps towards reaching our goal,
which is to scale. If we sell 1,750 products a month, we'll be able to hire 2 full-time single moms. We currently rent a commercially licensed facility to manufacture our products. And from here, we want to continue to grow so that we can hire more employees and implement our Mommyhood Matters program, which strives to bridge the gap between single mom households and access to fair wages and non-hazardous products for their families. Once our company reaches this level of success, this program will launch, starting here in Lancaster, providing flexible hours, employee discounts, and one day, hopefully, free childcare.
Being a single mom for 2 years, I know the feeling of not being able to provide for myself. It's disheartening. This program is designed to alleviate those stresses and pave the way to a more sustainable life.
We're committed to creating good jobs for single mothers in Lancaster and keeping those jobs here, even as we grow. Melanin Essentials exists to both create amazing products and create and maintain good jobs.
The first step for our company, however, is getting there, which brings us to our plans for marketing. To highlight a few, being vendors at natural product events locally and across the U.S., hosting workshops at salons and college campuses. Right now, we are speaking to 2 student organizations at Millersville University and Franklin and Marshall College to begin our workshop. And we're going to create ads that include product tutorials, blogs, and custom messages.
The future of Melanin Essentials is nothing short of success. The 3 pillars of our business are simplicity, sustainability, and social empowerment. As you can see, this is more than a business that sells eco-friendly personal care products. It's a movement to spread hope, shine light, and uplift. I'm Saba Williams.
And I am Olayinka Kratos.
And we are Melanin Essentials.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Heather Long, and this is my mother and business partner, Michelle Long, and we are Win Workplace Solution. So just to get started tonight, I just want everybody, if you can participate for a second, including the judges, by show of hands, who ate lunch today? Okay, so most of you guys. So of the ones who ate lunch, how many of you ate it in a bathroom? No one, okay. So while this may not be something that most of you have had to deal with, not only have I sometimes eaten in a bathroom, but I also pumped breast milk in a bathroom that I later used to feed my son. And I'm not alone. 50% of working moms that breastfeed are only provided a bathroom to pump in. And that's not even the worst scenario. Some women are pumping in closets with noxious chemicals, and some in bug-infested rooms at 100+ degrees temperature. And all of this in order to exercise our basic human right to feed breast milk to our babies. It's a health risk for moms and infants, and it's actually mandated by the Department of Labor that a space other than a bathroom should be provided. And not providing a space can actually result in charges of discrimination enforceable under the Equal Employment Opportunity. I can think back to a particular day at work when I was pumping in this bathroom. I was on my way to go pump, and I passed one of my coworkers who had just spent 45 minutes in there, and he said, "You may want to hold off on going in there." Well, thanks for the heads up, but unfortunately, that's not how pumping works. Like breastfeeding, it happens on a schedule. So I held my breath, and into the bathroom I went. And then I cried. I can remember asking myself, if the Department of Labor explicitly states that employers with 50 employees or more, like mine, are required to provide a space other than a bathroom, and there are more women in the workforce than ever before, then why is this something that 50% of us are still dealing with? And out of that thought came the corner office. With the corner office, Win Workplace Solutions enables employers to provide a dedicated, private, and temporary space for their breastfeeding employees who need to pump while they're at work. This product is a necessary innovation because despite the labor laws, only 35% of employers actually provide a dedicated. And while 79% of women decide to breastfeed after giving birth, 49% report that their workplace situation directly impacted their decision to quit. And that 49% looks a lot like the 50% of women that pump in a bath. But the corner office is more than just a legal necessity. It has proven benefits for employers too. For every $1 spent on a lactation program, there's a $3 return on investment. This is because women who breastfeed have fewer absences, are healthier, require fewer prescriptions, and are more productive. In turn, the employee benefits from having stable employment and also the opportunity to continue her career growth with less interruption. Currently, the cost to provide a space ranges from $500 to outfit a closet all the way to $20,000 to construct a room. And neither are really great options. At a proposed selling price of $3,000, the corner office strikes a balance between reasonable cost and efficiency and a comfortable, inviting space. Businesses will be able to purchase or lease our product at $150 per month. Leasing is convenient for the employer, and it also meets the demand for short-term solutions. Federal law has actually set our target market for us. Businesses with 50 employees or more are who we're targeting. If we look at the numbers nationally, there are 400,000 businesses with 50 to 99 employees. If we were able to tap only 1% of that number, we would have the opportunity to gross $12 million in sales. So how do we get to that point? Well, we've spent money, we've raised money, but we still need $7,000 more for consulting, engineering, and producing our prototype for refinements and testing. Once we have a product that we're ready to move forward with production, some of our marketing is to work really closely with office furniture dealers to help them meet the requests that they are currently receiving from their customers for a temporary lactation space. A social enterprise is an organization that applies commercial strategies to maximize improvements in human and environmental well-being. Our company is committed to improving the well-being of women in the workforce. Our 3 social missions are to promote equal pay for working mothers by giving them the chance to have fewer interruptions in their career, to support working mothers who exercise their right to breastfeed, and to create thriving wage production jobs here in Lancaster and hire people with barriers to employment. We know that with your support and with the corner office, we have the opportunity to make a social impact that will affect the lives of millions of women. We can provide a win-win solution to an all-too-common problem. Again, I'm Heather Long, and this is my mother and business partner, Michelle Long. We are Win Workplace Solutions. Thank you guys for your time, and thank you for your consideration.
Hello. Just testing it. America, Pennsylvania, Lancaster County faces a major health crisis. 1/3 of children and adolescents are obese, leading to health issues such as type 2 diabetes, low self-esteem, and high blood pressure, to name a few. My name is LaShonda Whitaker, and Five Loaves Food Company offers a solution. At the age of 19, I lost my mother to hypertension. High blood pressure impacted our family, causing us to lose a parent. This preventable illness drove me to want better for myself and my children. So, when I finished college, my daughter was 3 years old and enrolled full-time in daycare. I was really concerned about the impact of the unhealthy food she was receiving. After changing her child care program 3 times, I decided to start my own child care program to help to make an impact on other family and children's lives. Through my experiences as a child care provider, I've had to address health issues in young children that were preventable. In-home child care providers work 60+ hours weekly, committing their lives to the children they serve. With there not being a united nutritional plan for child care facilities, providers are left on their own trying to figure out what to provide the children. And also, while maintaining daily tasks, so some child care facilities utilize processed foods more often than fresh to cut down on prep time. Five Loaves Food Company provides fresh, wholesome meals to child care facilities where children spend 8 to 10 hours daily, therefore receiving the most of their dietary intake there. We limit added sugar, saturated fats, and sodium in our meals. This helps to decrease the chances of these children receiving chronic illnesses and to ensure a balanced diet. It's important that the food that children receive fuels the energy that they need to be successful in their learning environment. These are some of the healthy foods that we serve currently at Whitaker Family Child Care. We developed a rotating menu of healthy meals using fresh, locally sourced ingredients that kids love. With funds received from our pitch, we look forward to our seasonal menu analysis provided by a licensed pediatric dietitian to provide our customers, small child care facilities, with important facts on portion sizes, ingredients, and more. We have a partnership with Meals on Wheels, and our shared mission is to impact community through healthy meal delivery, which makes this collaboration more meaningful. They already have the facilities to prepare, pack, and deliver, and we have a contract with them to do this for us. This also keeps our startup costs down low and helps to make Meals on Wheels more financially sustainable. And since we have lightened the load that small child care facilities have, teachers have more time to spend engaging on educational structure, ensuring our children have success in grade school. Our first year goal is that we provide 30 meals to the 140 small child care facilities throughout Lancaster County that are in need of our assistance. Each child is provided a meal, a breakfast, and snack for $5 daily. You can't beat that. To create one meal, to create one single order, it costs us $3.65, which breaks down to $1.24 in labor, $1.50 in production, 65 cents in delivery, and 26 cents in packaging. In 1 year, we plan to serve 180 meals per day, 90 meals per week, and 360 meals per month. As we grow, we can expand the number of children we serve and impacting many. Also, we plan on hiring a full-time sales manager, increasing production and delivery jobs at Meals on Wheels, and expanding into other communities by using the same model. So, I say to you, why Five Loaves Food Company? Because with the potential to scale outside of our community, utilizing great partnerships and experience through Meals on Wheels, we can impact other lives at risk for diseases and poor eating habits, lack of nutritional food, or overworked small child care facilities. Our business offers a win-win solution. We want to see more children grow to be innovative thinkers, creative, and physically and mentally prepared for this world. Thank you so much, and my name is LaShonda Whitaker. Thank you.
It is really inspiring to see the distance that each of these ideas has traveled since we started this process back in March. And now we come to the point where we're going to dismiss our judges. We're going to go let them make the tough decisions. Good luck. And as our judges leave, we are going to be having some ushers who are going to come down and pass some baskets for you to put your votes in and also your dollars. So pull out your voting sheet, decide who you would like to vote for. And again, please pull out your dollars, support these ideas, write a check to Assets if you do not have cash. And then we'll pass that on to the audience winner. While you're voting, we're going to watch a video that was put together by Triode Media Group. Thanks to Triode. And you'll be able to see how they documented the process that led up to tonight. So we got to get off of there.
Yeah, I need you. They're going to turn the screen off. Yeah. There is sound to the video if we can quiet the house noise. You should be able to hear. cannot wait to see who you picked. This is always a really fun part to see who the crowd favorite is. They're all my favorite. So thank you. I want to start now and introduce our speaker for the evening. While the judges deliberate, we are privileged to have a guest joining us tonight, Matt Stinchcomb. Matt's the executive director of the Good Work Institute, previously known as Etsy.org. Prior to this, he was the vice president of values and impact at Etsy.com. In that role, he oversaw the stewardship of the company's mission and worked to give all employees the means and desire to maximize the benefit their work has on people and on the planet. In 2013, he was named a Good Magazine Figure of Progress. The next year, he was named as one of the Purpose Economy 100. In 2016, Matt was selected as a Local Economy Fellow with the Business Alliance for Local Living Economies, which is where I met him. I'd like to have you join me in welcoming Matt Stinchcomb to Lancaster.
Is this? It's on, I guess. Hi, good evening. Can you hear me all right? All right. That was incredibly inspiring. I was just up here thinking, I don't want to come up now. Really very impressive, everybody, and such wonderful ideas. And actually, I think really get to the point of what I want to talk about. I think, we saw in the, I'm forgetting the name of it, I'm sorry, the boutique. Yes, Sophie Stargazer, some of the, not in your business, but in the businesses you profiled, right? A lot of what's wrong with the way that business is done in the world. But I think you saw in everybody, the ability that business can have to actually shape the communities that we live in ways that are really positive too. So what I want to talk about is what it takes to do good work, and tell you a little bit about my story and the story of Etsy.com and how that's kind of gotten us, or to me, to where I am today. So this is Rob Kalin. Rob Kalin was my roommate in Brooklyn about 12 years ago. I lived with Rob, and my girlfriend at the time is now my wife, and we lived in a neighborhood called Fort Greene, Brooklyn. And at this time, Rob was making these handmade wooden computers. He had just graduated from NYU, which was his 5th attempt at college, finally finished. I was playing in a rock band, and he and I had a little tiny screen printing business in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. And so Rob was making these computers, and he actually had the wood shop set up in his bedroom. I remember that. So there's just like sawdust everywhere. It was a total mess. And actually, a funny story I like to tell is that when there was this one month where Rob didn't, probably many months, but one month in particular that Rob didn't have the money to pay his rent. And he went, probably because he was making handmade wooden computers. So he went down to our landlord's office, which was across the street from our apartment, and went in to let him know that he couldn't pay rent that month. And he saw a proposal for a website for a restaurant that our landlord owned in the neighborhood. And it was exactly twice what Rob owed in rent. And he said, I'll make your website for half that amount of money. And the landlord's like, great, where's my rent? And he's like, well, you got to pay me for the website first. And that's actually not what's funny about the story. What's funny about the story is that Rob had never built a website in his life. And he had no idea how to do it. But he saw that entrepreneurial moment, and he had that spirit, and he was like, I need to make money. And I mentioned that story because it's a Cajun restaurant. It's not there anymore. It was a Cajun restaurant. And he wanted to have animated flames, and he'd gone out and bought an HTML book that day to learn how to make websites. He didn't know how to animate flames, and so he posted something on the bulletin board at NYU, and 2 programmers responded, and they became the first 2 programmers of Etsy. So this is actually how Etsy got started. So Rob was making these computers, and at the same time, he'd started a web design business with these 2 other guys, Chris and Haim. And I remember they would all work out of the apartment, and they were doing websites for whomever would hire them. And so Rob sold 3 of these computers to a bagel shop in our neighborhood. And he's like, wow, there's a market for my computers. I'm gonna I'm going to make a website and sell my computers online. This was in 2004, so it wasn't as easy to set up a kind of e-commerce site as it is now. He had this moment where he realized actually that he didn't want to put this on eBay because he really cared so much about each one took hundreds of hours to build. He put a lot of love into them. And he's like, I don't want to throw it up on eBay. There's just, people selling sneakers and old CDs and things that they don't want, and it's not a very beautiful experience. And he had this realization where he recognized that everybody he knew was making things. We were making T-shirts, we were making posters. All of our friends were somehow making things. And he said, I bet no one else wants to put their stuff up on eBay. So he said, I'm going to make a website for everybody who makes things. And that was Etsy. And so in about 3 months, he, Chris and Heim, and another programmer named Jared made this version of Etsy. This is what Etsy looked like on the day it launched or a couple days later. I don't know how well you all know Etsy. It looked like this for a surprisingly long time. It doesn't quite look like this anymore. But what I love about it is actually nothing's changed in terms of our business. We charge 3.5%. We charge 20 cents to list an item for 4 months. It's a marketplace for handmade goods and for vintage goods and art supplies. When that item sells, we take 3.5% commission. And that's been the business model since the very beginning. Hasn't changed, never changed the rates. It's actually pretty funny how we got to 3.5%. Rob asked me, what does eBay cost? And I said, I don't know, I think it's 4% commission. He's like, we'll be 3.5%. I always loved that too because it wasn't the result of a lot of financial modeling. It wasn't obviously none of us had gone to business school. Rob barely graduated from college. And it was and I was playing in a band, yeah. It's amazing. I always say that Etsy succeeded in spite of our best efforts. But, so no real business plan, and actually not really a specific stated social mission at the beginning of Etsy. So the site launches, it begins to get a little bit of traction, and Rob's like, why don't you come and do this with me? And I said, well, what would I do? I'm not a programmer. And he said, you can be the marketing person. And I said, well, I don't know anything about marketing. He's like, perfect. And I don't know, this became a stand-up routine. I like this. Thanks for laughing at my jokes. Here's another one. So this was the first marketing for Etsy. It's a little stretched out on the screen, but this is a kid throwing a rock at a factory. It says "end mass production." This shows you how savvy I was at marketing. It's a website. Let's hand screen print posters and stick them up around town. Because he said, just do what you did with the band. And I was like, okay, All right, sorry. Anyways, what I love actually about this poster too is the sentiment, though. So while Etsy wasn't coming from a place of, we're going to actually address, the factories that are collapsing in India or the dyes that are going into the river, there was, it was coming from a very authentic place, and we had our own strong social beliefs and all of these things. And I think probably because of the fact that none of us were really well trained in business, we weren't afraid to do it a different way from the very beginning. So this was marketing at Etsy, but this was marketing at Etsy as well. So here I am. This is a picture actually in Finland. But I started this way in the United States. It was actually funny because I was getting married and my wife's like, you got to stop touring. I was always on the road with the band. And I was like, you're right. And I settled down, I left the band, and then I immediately started touring again. But for Etsy, and instead of playing shows, I would just go and meet with 70 women at a time, and I would send these pictures to my wife, yeah, here I am in, Lancaster. And it's, because Etsy, still to this day, is actually mostly women-run businesses that are using the site. I'll share some of those numbers in a second. But the main idea here actually was, what we wanted to do was go out and meet the people. Meet the people who were using our company, meet the people who were making a living off of our site. And one, because we really didn't necessarily know what we were doing, and we wanted to build something with our customers, not for our customers, which I think was a really important part of what made Etsy like it is today. And secondly, actually, it really began to teach me a lot about the role that business could have in impacting people's lives. And those impacts aren't just financial. For Etsy, it was the validation that comes with sharing something that you love, or having something that you've made and that you love be appreciated by someone else. Or it was less time you had to spend at a job you hated, or more time you could spend with your family, whatever it may be. There was certain liberty that came with, beginning to make a living with your own art. This is the Etsy Labs in Brooklyn. This is another kind of marketing at Etsy. So we got our first office. There was only 6 employees at the time. I wanted to get a space that was about like this size. And I was like, we'll never fill it. But Rob, who at this point wasn't even living in New York, so everyone was remote except for me and Emily. And Rob's like, get the whole floor. And I'm like, what are we going to do with the whole floor? But I got the whole floor. Of course, we outgrew that pretty quickly. But what we decided to do was actually open it up for our community and invite them in. We moved our screen printing business into there. We got everything you needed to make things, and we just created a community space. We did the same thing. This is the Etsy Labs in Berlin, Germany. I moved there in end of 2009 and did the same approach, really started to build the community around community of makers who are using the site. So just to take a look at Etsy in terms of dollars and cents, that first year, which was half a year, we sold about $200,000 worth of goods. Now, it's very important when you look at these big numbers to remember this is not what we make. This is the volume of the marketplace. These are the goods that are sold by the small businesses that work on Etsy. About 1.6 million small businesses selling on Etsy. I don't know the most recent data, but last I knew it was about 85% of those businesses were run by women. About 50% of them were around the poverty level or below the poverty level, and 19% of them were making a living full-time selling their stuff. So those numbers may have changed, but as you can see, $2.4 billion in sales last year. You can read all of our financials. They're publicly shared. I don't know what this year will be, but the site is still continuing to grow in double digits. One thing I want to mention, though, of course, is just to reiterate that what I realized is that, that impact that we were having on people's lives, like I was telling you before, it wasn't just financial. It was all these other forms of impact. And I really started thinking about, how business is really at the root of so many of the problems we're facing, but actually, right, can be good too. We're seeing that tonight. So in 2011, I put on the first Etsy conference ever in Berlin, and this is how I described it. I won't read this whole thing, but it's a pretty important moment in Etsy's history because around 2007, we read a book called Deep Economy by Bill McKibben. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. Really about why a durable future is one that's about local living economies. And again, I think we're seeing that with the businesses here today around what can these businesses do for Lancaster? And not just the businesses, but how do we consume to build the economy that we want? Or how do we invest to build the economy that we want? And so I started thinking about, in the global economy, you tend to have a very small number of very big things, right? Like that's kind of the trend where things are going, rather than a big number of very small things. And if you have a small number of very big things, think about like a monoculture of corn, right? If that corn gets an infection or a blight, the whole system collapses. A lot of cities probably, I don't know the history of Lancaster, but a lot of the cities where I visited became very dependent on a single industry or a single employer, right? Everyone starts to work for this one employer. Things go well for a while, and then that employer leaves, and you have the system collapse. It's not a very resilient system. So how do you actually build an economy where you're creating a lot more resilience and a lot more deeper connection to a place? There's a lot of data around, say $1 spent with a local business versus $1 spent with a national chain. Well, that dollar's, I don't remember the exact number, but something like circulates 46 times more than the dollar that's spent with the chain. Don't quote me on that exact number. I wasn't prepared to say that. but it's true. One of the speakers at that conference was Judy Wicks. She wrote a book called Good Morning Beautiful Business that I highly recommend that everybody reads if you haven't. She was in Philly. You all probably know the White Dog Cafe, or many of you might. So Judy started that business, and she's a really amazing woman. And she really taught me the power that business can play in shaping a community in powerful ways. One story about Judy that I love, and it's in her book. She's been a teacher in our programs a few times. So you may not know this, but the White Dog Cafe was the first restaurant in America to be powered by renewable energy, and really the first to have a fully farm-to-table menu. And, she went out and actually, when she learned about how pigs were being treated, she immediately removed pork from the menu. And then she went out until she could find a farm that was local, that was humanely raising pigs. And then she went ingredient by ingredient and did that for her whole menu. And so she had this real opportunity to kind of stop there and say, this is my market niche. I can blow the competition out of the water by, having this unique proposition in the restaurant world. But she realized actually, why am I in business? Am I in business to corner the market and have the most successful thing? Or am I actually trying to build a more sustainable economy? So what she did that I think was so unique is she went to all of the other restaurants in Philly and gave them all of her sourcing, her sourcing blueprint. So hey, you should be buying pork from this person too, and you should be buying eggs too. And I think that that's really a beautiful way to be thinking about, how you can help the whole, not just yourself. Following that conference, we rewrote Etsy's mission statement. At this point, we had so many different mission statements; they all kind of changed. They all had some sort of social message in them, but we really didn't exactly know what we meant, I don't think. So right after that conference, I changed the mission statement to, Etsy is the marketplace we make together. We enable people anywhere to easily build and directly exchange with independent creative businesses. We envision a new economy where self-sufficiency, well-being, and durability are the key measures of success. That's what we meant. I think it says what we did, but it's so boring and so wonky. I'm the only person on earth who remembers it. And so that became reimagine commerce in ways that build a more fulfilling and lasting world, right? And so that's kind of, I think, what we're talking about here today. How do you do business in ways that builds a more durable world from a social, ecological, and economic point of view, but also one that's more fulfilling, more joyful, more full of love? And so this is what I made my focus of my work at Etsy, and figured that if we really want to achieve this lofty mission, it's something that the whole company has to do. A lot of companies have a CSR department, corporate social responsibility, right? You've got your business, you make your money in traditional ways, and then if there's some extra, you get your employees to volunteer once a month or a year. You give some money to a charity and you clean up some parks. Well, that's not what I was interested in. I'm really interested in how do you use business as the engine for impact in the world. And so I created something called Values and Impact at Etsy and worked across the organization to help everyone in the organization fulfill this mission. Stepping forward to about a year and a half ago, we knew Etsy was going to go public. That's another story I'm happy to share with you over a beer sometimes. It's it's an interesting one. And I think it's actually a really interesting tale to also be really cognizant about the money you raise as a business. And I'm not saying anything against our investors. I think they are wonderful, but investment comes with strings attached to it. So it's good to be aware of those and good to be aware of what does success look like for you. How big do you want to be? In any event, it was an opportunity we saw to create a separate entity that we could fund with a bit of Etsy stock. And so Chad, who's the CEO of Etsy, asked me to figure out what that would be. And I started thinking about, well, if we're trying to reimagine how business is practiced, we should reimagine how it's taught. And what I found is pretty well summed up by what David Orr, who was a professor of mine at Oberlin, wrote. And that's basically that, the way we taught people how to industrialize the earth and, build those giant factories in India, or the shoddy factories in India, aren't really the same skills and more importantly, aptitudes, the way of thinking, the way of being in the world, that's going to be needed to heal the planet, build durable economies and good communities. And so I started thinking a lot about that. I think the program that Assets is running is a really good example of that, right? We need to instill different notions of what it means to be successful. We need to instill a different view of, how businesses think about everyone in a community and see that their success is shared with the success of a whole community. So this is what I tried to do with Etsy.org. So we started out as Etsy.org because we didn't know exactly what it was going to be, and we had to create a separate entity. We called it Etsy.org, and now we call it the Good Work Institute, mostly because it was creating a lot of confusion being called Etsy. Our programs aren't specifically for buying and selling on Etsy. Etsy.com has tons of entrepreneurial training programs. Etsy.com does tons of philanthropic work that's totally separate from Etsy.org. So we really weren't your typical corporate foundation because we weren't giving grants, we were building and running programs, and we weren't getting more money from Etsy. So it was, we figured, let's become something different. So we got really interested in this notion of good work and what it means to do good work. And one of the things, so I'll just mention Etsy is a B Corp. I know that you've been talking about B Corps a bit with Assets PA. And Etsy is the first public B Corp, or the only public B Corp in the world. And I was very involved in that process of helping Etsy become a B Corp, and got really interested in the social enterprise space and met a ton of businesses and a lot of really amazing businesses who are doing wonderful things. But I also, as these businesses got larger, saw that most of them were kind of somewhere along this line that wasn't actually going to cut it. And here's what I mean by that line. So like at one end of the line, you have degenerative, like really degenerative business. We can think of some great examples of this, right? Mountaintop removal is generally a pretty degenerative business for the natural world, right? I don't know how well those people who are doing the work are paid, but the product they're creating is creating a lot of ecological degradation, et cetera, et cetera. Volkswagen lying about the diesel emissions, like that's fairly degenerate. The pharmaceutical guy who yanked up the prices, like fairly degenerate behavior, right? So like I'd say that that's the exception to the rule, though, that like most people aren't like that. They don't want to be bad. You move down this line a little bit, and you have where I think most of the major business world is, which is less bad. It's like, I'm gonna do what I need to do to maximize financial return, but I'm gonna do it in like as least a bad way as possible. And when you think about inequality and social injustice and ecological degradation and climate change and all of these things, like less bad isn't gonna cut it. Like we can't be satisfied with less bad. I think you then kind of move down into sustainable, which would be great, but because of all of those things, we shouldn't aspire to sustain this world, not the one that's so unjust, right? How do we actually try to build the world that we want to live in? I mean, I'd be happy if we can sustain our world from an ecological point of view, right? But like, we shouldn't be aiming for that. We should be aiming for something that's far better than that. And I do believe that we have the power within us to actually do work that is regenerative, that is net positive. And so this is what we're trying to do with the Good Work Institute. And so here's what I think it will take to move from less bad through sustainable into regenerative. And that's a shift in consciousness, actually, that we have to start there. We have to start at an individual level and change the way that we think. And we have to challenge a view where we see ourselves as separate from nature, where we see ourselves as separate from our neighbors, as we see ourselves separate from everyone in our community, even if seems like they have nothing to do with what you do. And if from that place, if we can recognize that our success is shared and our failure is shared, then we can begin to build businesses like you're trying to do that are aiming to honor all the people and places that are touched by the choices that you make in that business. So that's what we do. These photographs are all pictures from the people who are in our programs in the Hudson Valley in New York. this idea to how do we change the way that we all work so that we can regenerate our own lives, our communities, and the planet. So I want to talk briefly about good work. How am I doing on time? Are you okay? Okay. Tell me when I need to shut up. I'm getting to the end. You guys okay? Are you with me so far? All right. Okay. Good. So I have a tendency to ramble, and I don't want to do that. Here's Wendell Berry from Kentucky, and I put this up here more just to kind of begin to talk about work and this notion that good work is our salvation. And another reason that we chose the name Good Work Institute is that I like the idea of work. When we ran our first program, we called it the Regenerative Entrepreneurship Pilot. See, like, again, me, wonky words. But not everybody thinks of themselves as an entrepreneur. And now I'm running a small nonprofit. It's the most entrepreneurial thing I've ever done. And I started thinking about work. And we all work, right? We work as parents. We work as spiritual leaders. We work at corporations. We work at nonprofits. And I started thinking that work is really more about how we express ourselves in the world. Like, work is what we do, and it's what we do that actually shapes the world that we live in. So I don't actually really think it's about, just social enterprise or just this or, it needs to be for-profit or non-profit. It's really about how do we work, and what does it mean to do good work. So we've created 6 tenets of what it means to do good work. So good work honors nature. It recognizes that we're not separate from the natural world and that there's no economy without ecology, right? Everything we made is tied to nature, and we need to recognize that. So how do we design and build businesses that honor nature? It's kind of also like what I was saying about the corn, right? You don't generally have a small number of very big things in nature. You have lots of interrelated things. How do we build businesses like that? I think Etsy is a good example of actually a business that's comprised of 1.6 million small businesses, right? And that's a very resilient way. And you also look to nature and you think about natural ecosystems and edge theory, right? It's the side of a forest, right, where one ecosystem is meeting another, where you have the most biodiversity, where you have the richest soil and the most abundance. So how do we design businesses that are about connection and creating all these connection points in a community? Again, I think your businesses are great examples of that, right? All of the people in the neighborhood where you grew up and where you're building your gym now, it's all about connecting these people together. That's how you're going to create the most abundance. Good work nourishes the whole human. Work is not just about making a living. It's part of it, but it's not all about that. It's how we express ourselves as human. And we dishonor humans when we don't allow them to exercise their full mental, spiritual, physical faculties as people. Stultifying work is a disservice, right? If you're working and, just putting I don't know what, on some assembly line, I understand that we don't all have the luxury to have work that is nourishing. But as we build enterprises, how do we build jobs that are actually really honoring all that we have to offer? Good work invokes community. I think Judy Wicks is a perfect example. She realized that business was about relationships, not making money. And so how at every point can you create more opportunities for connection? Work is what brings us together in so many ways. So I always say, actually there's a line in Deep Economy by Bill McKibben that says, the key question is whether the economy will produce an ever larger pile of stuff or whether it will build or undermine community. Because community, it turns out, is the key to survival in the current ecological predicament we're facing, but also the key to human satisfaction. So how does your work invoke community? How does it call community? Good work embodies integrity. I love the word integrity because, yes, you're building products that are structurally sound. You're not making shitty things that break. So many products today have no integrity, right? Sorry, there's some youngsters in the audience. Some lousy products that don't work. Yeah. But I also like this notion of we embody integrity. And Volkswagen, perfect example, right? Did not embody integrity, had to hide the fact that they didn't know how to do this, and then they lied about it. If you're doing good work, you don't have any secret. You don't have to, because you can stand by everything that you do, right? So how do you embody integrity in every decision that you make? strives to be great, not big. And I think this is kind of what I was saying a little bit before, but a lot of organizations just chase growth for growth's sake, right? They're just like, everything has to scale, everything. And I'm not saying that businesses do need to scale. You do need to make money if you want to do all the good work that you're trying to do, right? You got to think about all the forms of capital that you create. One of them is financial capital, and it's a very important one. If you don't make money, you can't do all of these things. But how big do you need to be? And what does success look like? And, we talk about this notion of scaling deeply in a community, right? So you scale your roots down deeply enough so that as you grow, you can support it because you're supported by your community, and that your growth is actually creating more benefit for everybody who's, in the shade of your tree. And that's, I think, striving to be great, not big. Another company that comes to mind, I think you were saying that someone from Grayston was here a couple years ago. Grayston Bakery in Yonkers, New York. Bernie Glassman, who started it, started the business because he wanted to end homelessness in Yonkers, which at that point was in the richest county in New York, Westchester County, richest county in America at the time, and also had the highest rate of homelessness in Yonkers. And so he started thinking about, how can I end homelessness? He created something called open hiring, which I think is a lot of the stuff that you're all talking about, right? We're not looking at the past of someone before we offer them a job. We're creating opportunities for everybody. Thought about all of this and everywhere, and he intentionally actually made his process labor-intensive to create more jobs, and then said, I want to be huge. And he got the account to make the brownies for Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and they turned it into a big, giant factory. But that being big actually created so much more benefit for that place. So it's not that it's bad to be big, but how do you grow in a way that makes you great too? And finally, leaves room for the mystery. This is one of my favorite ones because, I like to stay kind of humble and open and curious and admit that we don't know everything that's going on out there, and we shouldn't pretend that we know that's going on. And just how do you allow for like that magic out there and realize that there's some things that we just don't know about. So leave room for the mystery, and also don't hold too tightly to things. That's what I find too. When people are building a business, they hold too tightly to ego, or they hold too tightly to a product that like, this just has to be this thing, instead of just kind of being open. There's a Buddhist concept called beginner's mind. I don't know if you all know it, you probably do. But this notion that the mind of the expert knows how you do everything, right? And that's what I've always argued with some best practices are best practices because they're the right thing to do, but some just lead to more of like, well, this is just how we've always done it, so you have to do it that way. So I like the notion of approaching things with a beginner's mind, where you don't really know, and you're okay with that, and you're open to that, and you kind of see where it takes you. So I want to close with one quick thing. This is my very simplistic notion of how to do good work. I have a 4-step process for doing good work. And I bring up this quote from Martin Luther King because I love the notion that every person's got to decide something, right? You got to decide whether to do one thing or another thing. And that's what business is. Business is just a collection of decisions that you make every single day. And if you think about it, in this kind of simple view, like the world that we live in is just the consequences of all the decisions that we make every day, right? That's all it is. A company is just the aggregate of all of the decisions that people make under the name of that company. So we really do shape the world that we live in. We really do shape the economy, right? You can choose to buy one thing or another. I can choose to go to your gym or to a different gym. I can choose to shop at your store, et cetera, right? So to do good work, it's really about not just saying, okay, I'm going to build this great social enterprise that I'm going to scale to provide clean drinking water in this remote village wherever. I mean, that's important too, but that doesn't mean like only then will you be doing good work. Whatever you do in any job, as a parent, inside of a big organization, in the small side of a small one, it's all about what's the decision that you're going to make at that moment. So to do good work, there's 4 steps. First thing you do before you make any decision is pause for a second. Stop, because we don't usually allow ourselves the space to do that. Then look deeply. Think really deeply about what's before you, right? There's this question that people always ask, like, who am I? My friend Colin's like, people should be asking, whose am I, right? You belong to many other people. There's many other people that are impacted by your choices. Then make the decision, ideally that causes no harm, or causes the least amount of harm and creates the most amount of benefit for all people and places. And that includes yourself, right? You have to include yourself because you are part of this system too. And the right decision for you right now might be the one that makes you the most money. I'm not saying that that's bad because you got to look at the situation that you're in. But you should certainly make the one that doesn't enrich one person or one stakeholder at the expense of another one. And then you just need to do that every time you choose something. Now, I've got one little quote that I was reminded of when I was talking with Jess earlier. I wrote it down on this little piece of paper. This is the last thing I'm going to say, I promise. So this is from Wendell Berry again. And he wrote, "The name of our present society's connection to the earth is bad work. Work that is only generally and crudely defined, that enacts a dependence that is ill understood, that enacts no affection and gives no honor. Every one of us is to some extent guilty of this bad work. This guilt does not mean that we must indulge in a lot of breastbeating and confession. It means only that there is much good work to be done by every one of us, and that we must begin to do it." So thank you all, and please choose to do good work. Thank you. That's very kind. Yeah, thanks.
Matt, thank you for sharing in such a way that had such love and creativity and mystery as part of it. I loved it.
You really left us all with something really deep and powerful that I think we'll take with us from tonight. So at this point, we get to the very exciting part of the evening. And I'd like to invite all of the live pitch participants to return to the stage. And I'd also like to ask our judges to come out and join us as well. So tonight's cash and pro bono prizes total over $50,000. And we want to say a very special thank you to some of our sponsors, Rogers & Associates, Cryode Media Group, PNC, Grable Processing, Inc., and all of our sponsors you see listed up here and also in your program. This program and this evening would not be possible without them. So if you see them, please tell them thank you. So we're going to start this evening with your vote, the audience vote. And how many dollars do we have?
The total's not on here yet.
Oh.
But we'll find out the
We'll
amount.
find out. It looks like a lot.
Heavy.
It's heavy.
And it goes to Boot Camp 900. All right, this year we're pleased to offer prizes to all 5 of our live pitch participants. We're going to start with number 5. And this is a cash prize of $500 and pro bono services that meet the needs of that particular business. So the pro bono is going to be distributed based on the needs that they have. And that goes to Win Workplace Solutions. The 4th place announcement is a cash prize of $1,000 plus pro bono services, and that goes to Sophie Stargazer. This is the first time we're seeing these two. This
Yeah,
is
so
like
we're
the
like, wait.
Oscars or something.
And the winner is...
The 3rd prize announcement is the cash prize of $2,500 plus pro bono services, and that goes to Five Loaves Food Company. Second place is a cash prize of $5,000 and pro bono services for that business, and it goes to Boot Camp 900. Which means, as you know, that the first place goes to Melanin Essentials, $7,500 in pro bono support.
Congratulations to all of our live pitch participants. Well deserved. It takes, let's give them one more round. It takes a lot of people and a lot of organizations to make this process and this evening happen. So we want to say a bunch of thank yous. I lost my page. Aha! So first of all, we want to say thank you to all 10 of this year's social entrepreneurs for their ideas, their hopeful vision, and we can't wait to see what you do going forward. Let's say thanks to them one more time. We also want to say thank you to our judges. They had a really hard job. Thank you once again to Matt for your inspiring message to us tonight. And we also want to say thanks to the Assets and the Community Foundation team for all their work. And I want to give a special shout out to the Assets Event Committee, who when we are done here, we will be able to be part of the celebration that they've been planning and putting together for us. So thank you to that group. And of course, once more, to all of our sponsors, to the Ware Center, to all those who supported all of these great ideas during the crowdfunding and who shared it with their friends and their family. And of course, I also want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you for being here tonight, for cheering all these great people on with all their great ideas, and for being part of this movement that we're starting in Lancaster.
This process, yes, all of you.
Yes, all of you.
So this process is not possible without support all along the way. If you're interested in helping to support next year's pitch, please feel free to contact either us at Assets or the Community Foundation. But most importantly, support these businesses or others like them, others doing good work, right? Those businesses that are seeking to make a positive social or environmental impact as customers and as investors. Let's do that. At this point, we'd like to ask Matt and all the pitch participants, the judges, and the staff of Assets and Community Foundation to stay on the stage briefly for some photos. But for all of you, we want to invite you to join us for an after party out in the lobby and meet all 10 of the participants that were part of this year's pitch. And thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at next year's pitch. Will be September 29, 2017. Good night.